All right. I'm very excited to be back for another episode of Beyond Barriers. Beyond Barriers is a podcast hosted by Wally. Uh, and Beyond Barriers is a conversation with leaders and community evangelists about the challenges of navigating an effective accessibility strategy. In each episode, guests get to share their journey of successes and setbacks with a primary focus on how they've overcome specific issues that could have ended the journey and into accessibility and maybe affected the company overall. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Tanya Saxena. And Tanya, really excited to have you join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. I'm really excited to be on the podcast as well.
How's your day going?
It was pretty much okay, normal day. How was yours?
Good, good. I'm excited for today's conversation. I know some of the back and forth we had getting set up for today was learning a little bit about yourself and how you got into accessibility. So why don't we jump right in? Why don't you share a little bit about yourself and how you got into accessibility?
Sure. So, currently, I'm working as a web engineer in Fiserv. And in my previous organization, I was exposed to a project. It was a SAP project, and the client was Canadian client. And through that, I got exposed to the accessibility project and learning how to implementing, why it is important, etc., etc. So before that, I was not even aware like there is some compliance, regulatory compliance regarding this, and like it was a unknown blurry topic to me. And after that project, I got to know why and how this is important, and it brings a lot of purpose to the work that we do. Like before that, I didn't know that this topic or this thing is existing in our development society or in the environment. And later on, when I got to know all these compliances and all, and how we can help in like as being a web engineer, we can help everyone around the world accessing all these websites and all those things. It covers a pretty vast number, and it can impact a pretty big number, and it works how it works, etc., etc. So I got exposed to that project. And right now the work that I do is building common components within the organization, so that the code consistency is maintained throughout the organization. And some similar kind of issues, or if multiple projects or teams are facing something, so our team resolves those and works accordingly. uh,
Cool. Hearing that, I think hearing it that it affects everyone around the world, I mean, that's spot on. And sharing that it was with a Canadian client, that the global reach for you is exciting. I'm curious, was the exposure for this particular client and the project you're working on, was it at the client's request, or was it something that as a internal team you guys decided to prioritize?
no, it was totally client's request. So WCGA and ADA are some compliance that every website should be compliant with in Canada. And that too, it was some healthcare related website which we were working on. So it has to be accessible to everyone. So through that we got the information, and like no one in the project was aware what these two things are, what this WCGA and ADA does, and why they are there. So after the client's request, we got to know, and we implemented all the things as per the request itself.
Cool. And so previously it wasn't something you guys were aware of. Tell me like when are we talking? Is this a project 5 years ago, a month ago?
It was, I guess, 3 years ago, three or
Okay.
three and
So,
a half.
and so since then, the organization and your department has looked to embrace levels of accessibility.
Yeah, definitely they did.
Tell
Later on, like after learning like the majority part of this particular space, the project owners got into the how these things work, and we should also like hiring someone, or if we are getting to know someone's knowledge. So if they are hiring some web engineer or UI person, so they used to ask questions on like, do they know accessibility, how can we implement it, or basic questions around that, so that um, even if we don't have a requirement, client requirement, but we should be still be compliant, because it's a basic, like they got to know that it must be there, even if it's not requested, but it should be there, existing like within the with the knowledge base, or as well as with the websites or the code that we deliver.
I love that you just mentioned that it got brought into the hiring process. Um, Part of the conversation that we've been having on this podcast is some of it's really been, okay, I'm in the UX space, I'm a consultant, I'm a developer. Um, I don't think anyone has brought that topic up, that it has to go back into the hiring process, which I think is so powerful, right? Like, I haven't joined an organization where in the onboarding of a new employee that this is even a topic, but it seems like your organization has kind of taken that leap, and your department in the engineering space has decided, let's bring in the expertise, right? I'm always like, hey, I'm going to hire people that are smarter than me. So it's kind of like, okay, well, let's hire people that probably know accessibility.
Yeah.
And and so your current focus on building the various web components, can you talk a little bit about that? And how accessibility is taken into account there?
Okay, so right now the components, like if we build some common components, like for suppose take a button for example, some save button. So that particular button should be accessible with the keyboard events, and it should be compliant with the audio inputs as well. If in case the computer has to audio had to speak out the text within that particular button or something like that, or what should be the functionality after clicking on that button or tapping some event, keyboard event, etc., etc. So these are kind of the things, like basic things that we keep in mind right now. And moving on, we also, other than buttons or accordion, etc., etc., so these type of common components that we create and build. So accessibility is kept in mind while developing all the components with all the React props and all these technical things that we usually do. Plus one more thing, like giving a label, so area label and all, so that it speaks out when the audio is required. Things
So
like that.
you're building a library of components that are built with
Yeah,
accessibility in mind.
correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. How many developers around the world are using these components?
So it is an internal library. We haven't exposed it, but
Okay.
I know for sure, like multiple other libraries like Material UI and all, they also provide some properties that through which we can use accessibility options as well, and few others, some third party libraries, UI library components and all.
And so is there additional testing at the end state of development, or are you just doing it in the component space to be purpose built?
There is a testing in the end space, but as a developer, we do a dev testing. So very basic dev
Yep.
testing, like with the tab button and all, like seeing all the functionalities works as like they do with the mouse events, with as well, like how they work with the keyboard events as well. Also, they should be similar. And yeah, pretty much basic testing, not end to end rigorous testing, but that's done through some other team.
Cool. Well, I think it's thank you to the Canadian client. Healthcare definitely being a regulated space is probably was a natural one to get your first exposure to. But I guess, yeah, part of today's episode goes out to that client to say thank you, because they as you talk, there's like this energy and excitement that it seems like you're glad to have been exposed to it.
Yeah, I am definitely, because so I what I found, like people are not aware, and but it is a very basic thing. Like, before getting exposed to this thing, I was not even aware, like, it's just a very blurry or grayish topic. Like, we don't even think people, disabled people might also uh, might be some facing some issues, or things like that. Like, there's a cafe in Bangalore that I got to know that it's run through all the disabled people, and obviously they need some POS machines and billing applications and multiple things. Like, how do they interact with those machines? How do, like, what are the problems that they face, right? And things like accessibility and all, they come in the picture to resolve these things. Like, they might use audio input controls and other things so that they can hear what the billing, what the product is, or what the order is, etc., etc. So after getting exposed to this, like, through that project, I linked multiple stories with this the issue that is underlying in web community, and how we can solve it further. And like, it opens a vast, it opens that particular spot in the mind, like, linking linking the problems with the solutions.
It's the pragmatic engineering approach.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
um, so project kicks off. You get your exposure. Obviously, some of the organizational wide support. What were some of the challenges from the implementation standpoint, and certainly creating scale? Tell me about the not so bright side, or yeah, where were the challenges?
So the first challenge that I faced it, because no one was aware about it. So I think I couldn't receive that kind of help, or that kind of guidance that should be there within each and every project. For someone who knows accessibility from A to Z, and they can help, like, properly with what implementation should be used, or what approach should be used, etc., etc. So that was the first thing that I faced. But then I got to know through like, online videos and other third party applications, like Lighthouse, that is by Google.
Yep.
They check the accessible, they check the page properly, thoroughly, and they tell the percentage. Also, they tell the suggestions how you can like, increase the accessibility for particular component, or any HTML tag, or whatever. So I had to explore my parts. So I think allocating sufficient resources, and in a project, and maintaining accessible digital products, services, that can bring a significant change. Other than that, I also, like, I felt like, when I got to know about this WCAG and ADA, so I saw it was a pretty huge list that someone has to go through, with all the compliance listed, and all the like, this should be with all the points listed, like, there's,
78 rules,
yeah,
278 sub
so many
rules. Yeah,
rules. It's pretty vast. Like, no one can remember it in every time, right? Something misses out. So the third party applications that are there are pretty much helpful, but still there is no reliant application that I found, other than some, like, there should be, I think that's a brand psychology. Like, a brand should be there within, with some application, only then it can be trusted, something like that. Like, whether it is correct or not, giving the amount of percentage that I am sure that this particular page is now 100% accessible. So things like that those questions come up in every dev's mind, right? So this was the other challenge that I faced. um Other than that, like, I thought that building a culture of accessibility within an organization, that can also bring a significant change, like, involving changing attitudes, practices, and processes and all. So across the departments, that can also bring, like, it was challenge that I got, like, it may also bring a significant change within the community.
What was it like from a scalability standpoint, I'm sure as a developer you want to, have efficiency in the well, any role does, right? But like, was it scalable to begin with? How has that changed over the years to um, be easier for you in your day to day, or just um, the comprehensiveness?
Speaking of scalability, I guess it increased, like it was pretty much scalable at that moment. And moving on, like from since 3.5 years ago, and now I see pretty much significant change in the um in this particular topic, like creating a buzz around it and all. Maybe because I am into this particular topic, that's why I get to hear more about it, or
Yeah,
something like that. Maybe someone else with the same experience and with the same role, who is not exposed to accessibility, might not hear. Still, they might not, it will be a blurry topic for them, right? So it definitely made some changes, I think. But like, there is a requirement, a huge requirement to change it. Like, I think it should be a part of the textbooks now. Because
it definitely wasn't in my textbooks, and I don't even think there's
yeah,
such thing as a textbook now.
exactly. So like, it should be a part of, if like basic learning within it should be as basic as learning HTML, CSS, like from there. Because it may help from very basic. It may help, and it may make the developer more aware about what they are doing and how it can impact to different people.
Love it. Is there a department or an organizational wide strategy for you at Pfizer now?
The project that I work in, there is. So before I joined this company, the library, internal library, already had the components which are accessible. But we have a separate team of two or three, not like for this project itself, not big team. So they keep in mind, and they are just the in charge of accessibility itself. So they keep in mind all the checks and all the rules and all, and how, with the good approach and all those things. So we have a team within my project. I'm not sure about the whole organization, but I hear
It's a big
that
one.
yeah, quite big. So I hear that, since like I talk to different web developers within the company, they are not aware about the topic itself. So maybe there is not within the organization, the whole organization, but within my project there is.
Sounds like you have I mean, seeing and hearing everything so far today, it seems like your ability to be an evangelist across the org. Maybe this conversation will spark some interest.
Yeah.
So curious, you've shared on some definite themes that I'm picking up here, but how would you maybe summarize some of the macro issues? We talked about the lack of help and guidance. Is there any other, macro level themes that you think we should call out?
um any other issue that I like, I the if I like to summarize this, the underlying issue as I see it is that many
Yeah,
individuals within the development community still are not fully informed about this concept and importance of accessibility. Awareness is the key, right? And
yeah.
only when we recognize the existence of a problem, then only we can consider the solutions and how to solve those issues. So I think basic, like, if I think deeply about it, the awareness is what I think is missing. So once we know the problem, we can, if anyone can work on towards the finding the solution towards that.
Yeah. And I mean, oftentimes what I hear is that by starting with accessible components and educating the department and so much of what you're talking about in the hiring piece, I'm like still like floored by hearing that, because you're literally the few and far between from an organization standpoint that I think has that embedded. Sure, the biggest, 100,000 person organizations in the world, that it's probably there, but like I've heard a lot about the economic barrier of the entry, and so um Have you faced any personal challenges? I'm sure the some of the awareness and things like that just trickle down to as you had to deliver. But any personal challenges that you've come across?
Um, the only personal challenge that I can think of is like I couldn't get the proper guidance at the time that when I was implementing, because I was a newbie at that time to this
Yeah.
topic. Um, and I had to rely on the third party applications and extensions and all on like things like that. So maybe more buzz about it or more content about it can help people who are willing to learn about it or are willing to um, implement accessibility within their projects and all. So maybe that can be a plus one for the projects within those lines and all
What
suggestions.
would you and maybe we like I'll we'll look at it from 2024 to date, right? Like, what's your biggest success in the accessibility space and in your role? And they can
So
be two different ones. If you have an amazing success from a role perspective, and you want to share it, please.
um not the like it's not a big one, but the project that we delivered, so I was the only front end developer who implemented accessibility throughout that particular application. So I take that as a success, and I flaunt about it every time when I get the top when I get the opportunity to do so within my this current organization or with any other developer that I get to meet around. um Other than that, I don't think like I had got that opportunity to call it as a huge success or any other huge setbacks, something like that.
I mean,
Yeah,
that is a huge success because I mean, if I hear correctly, like this was somewhat of the catalyst to change your department, right? The
yeah,
it- and do folks come to you as like the subject matter expert and
yeah. In the previous, they did. In the previous organization, they did. Um, by the time it got pretty huge, COVID struck, and all those happenings, like all the movement from projects to projects was happening, and later on within this organization that I work in right now, like people are already aware about it. And I also got to know that accessibility is a topic that is included in the hiring process now. So I was pretty much amused by that, like and also happy like people are aware about it, and it is coming into its place nowadays.
yeah, I love hearing that there's a culture being built. I mean, that's with anything in the organization, right? The if you don't have a good culture, whether it's to be motivated and feel rewarded, or to be inclusive, like you're saying, so that's it. It's powerful. It's funny when we were getting started, we were like, "Are we gonna fill? Are we gonna have a long enough conversation?" And now here we are. It's like, oh my god, like there's still more to get to.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me, I want to ask just something totally off skid here, which is, what made you become a developer?
See, what I like, I also thought about this question a lot. So in the initial years, I was given an option to work as a backend developer or a front end developer. I also worked on some support projects, Linux support projects. I didn't find them as interesting as Linux or those projects are, but I left that. Then working on backend tech, I worked in Java and other backend tech as well. I didn't find them that much interactive with the people. Whereas front end, being a front end developer specifically, I found that my work is something that interacts with people. Like I can go and say like the website that you see
I
is built. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
build that. Things like that. So I know how this functions, and like people interact with that, but I cannot so things like that, like maybe it is something, some extrovert point in me that wants to loudly call out my work everywhere, so I can tell my work is within this button, or I know how this thing works, or I can build that, etc., etc. And later on, when I got to know about this accessibility as an option, I also found that it serves some purpose of this development job that we do. So things like that got into my mind, and I think that's what keeping me like driving the energy till now. Maybe in
I
future.
love the energy. So,
Thank you.
um, you've had exposure to, kind of the full stack of development. So, what are the biggest disruptions coming to accessibility from your point of view?
I think the artificial intelligence, it's a big buzz around right now. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest disruption coming to accessibility in the advancement and integration. ML and AI technologies, like these technologies, have the potential to revolutionize accessibility by
How so?
offering. See, I think, like, if right now, if we give a prompt to the AI or like ChatGPT or anything else, like they
Yeah.
can literally build a website, basic website with those prompts, right? And in future, hearing the buzz that software engineer is going to have a vast scale, like it's not, it will not be limited to only uh, doing basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and all, or basic UI or UX things. So it will be more than that, right? So these basic things, like creating an HTML page, can be done with AI. And if it's done through AI by some company, then keeping accessibility in mind, maybe it is fed that particular knowledge, the prompt, through prompt and all. And if it's done in future, I don't know whether it will be more scalable or not, or how it's gonna work. But I think it may help with the questions and with the implementations, to like it will help everyone if we see the plus point.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, technology is always like the how do we make ourselves more efficient? And part of what I was thinking while you're sharing that, I was like, well, if we have the ability for certain code components and um, HTML semantic to be handled by the robot, right? I mean, I mean, I don't know. AI is something that it's like, well, machine learning. I mean, when I got out of college, the company I worked for was using machine learning for job search, but I guess that the application of it has changed, right? So maybe it'll allow us in the development space to think more about the experiential side of how and as a front end developer, you're like, oh, I get to see how the button and the components of the website, but you can think more about your work from the output being based upon the experience, not based upon whether there's bugs or the success of a regression test.
Yeah.
So cool. Such an I, I love so much getting to know folks around the world and in different roles. And your perspective today is it's um it's motivating because you started from nothing and it was the client that drove. So just as we close out, is there anything else that you want to share or you have a question on, or you're like, hey, I don't agree with certain parts of something? Is anything kind of open forum?
uh right now I don't have any question, like uh I would like to know, like the what like what drives you to do these podcasts, or like to talk about this particular topic. So like, why are you so interested? And
Yeah. um So I spent 6 years running a digital asset management platform for enterprises, and it we very connected to the consumer. It was for, it was media content. And when we built the application and certain brands that we spoke with, and we were working with the largest, biggest brands in the world, same thing that you're saying, where it was like, what's accessibility? And oh, this might not really matter. And inclusivity in this world where I think there was enough of acceptance. Well, technology just isn't there yet. It's like, look at what we're doing. So when my partner approached me about Wally, and in all honesty, I was educated on accessibility in many ways. Like I am learning so much every day, but the passion to deliver an equal experience, and I think the lens, like when I looked at the players in the market, like I looked at competitors that are delivering a widget, it's so wrong. And our vantage point at Wally is about delivering great experience. So all of the solutioning that our product offers is around user experience and the user flows and things that are actually really common to what we do today, right? Like I have a buyer journey, I have a funnel, I have cart abandonment. Well, and you have personas. Well, all of those exact same things tie into an audience that's already touching your digital content. So I tend not to work on something unless I'm passionate. I'm a pretty passionate, loyal person. So this is disrupting. This is a major disruptor, and it's time, right? Like it's time to level the playing field because it's So hopefully I wasn't too long-winded.
No, no, obviously not.
All right. Well, hey, Tanya, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the insights, and we'll go back to thanking the client in Canada for why you and I got to talk today.
Yeah, sure, definitely.